the Panthers get a brutal update after just one day of 2026 training camp. With Nick Scourton out for the season with a torn ACL, what should the Panthers do next, and who can they look to step up in his absence? What's going on, guys? It is Tanner Blue with Carolina Panthers Digest Media. Thanks for joining me as usual. Guys, before we get into today's video, just want to please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it if you do so. We're growing. We're talking Carolina Panthers every single day, so really happy to see everyone tuning in and enjoying the news. While unfortunately today we have some bad news to share. Yesterday when I recorded my video about Nick Scourton going down during training camp, not long after that, the news came out that he was going to be out for the season. So just want to take a look at that. Let's take a look at a tweet from Cameron Wolf here. Tests revealed Panthers linebacker Nick Scourton suffered a torn ACL in his right knee, sources tell me and at Rap Sheet. Brutal blow for Carolina D in year 2 rising pass rusher who was expected to make a huge impact opposite Jalen Phillips. Brutal blow for the Carolina defense is right. Nick Scourton, as I've said on this channel before, really was one of the guys that we were looking to continue to get better and grow the Panthers defense and really make that next step. Guy's got such a high motor. He's such a young physical player, really good in run support last season, and he had 5 sacks for a rookie, which is not bad considering the Panthers defense, the defensive line at least, was not the best last season. So they really wanted to improve on that going into next season. And unfortunately, they're going to be without Nick Scourton. And I just want to say to all Panthers fans right now, I know that it is tough. You know, you're going into 2 days now of training camp. One of your high rising players is going to be out for the season. But unfortunately, these things do happen during the season. And I just want to let Panthers fans know that it's a long season. Other guys will step up. There will be more guys that the Panthers bring in to hopefully alleviate the loss of Nick Scourton. So I just want people to know, the season is not over. It's very early. We've still got a ways to go. It is an unfortunate loss, but we still have some time, and we've got a lot of football coming our way. So we want to make sure that Nick Scourton gets healthy for the following season and his long-term career as a Panther. But we've got to carry on, and there are going to be some guys that they sign, some guys that they bring in on the next tier to really help alleviate that loss. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today. So there's going to be no Nick Scourton for this season. So, who's next? I kind of dropped a few names yesterday of some free agents out there, but the Panthers have made a move since then, and we want to talk about some of the guys currently on the roster that they think can maybe make an impact. So one of the guys that they brought in is going to be a guy named Cam Gill, which they got from the UFL. Let's take a look at this article here that was posted by the UFL website. So Carolina signing Louisville Kings DN Cam Gill. He has signed with the NFL's Carolina Panthers, the team announced today. He becomes the 5th member of the 2026 United Bowl champion Louisville Kings to earn an NFL contract since the UFL season ended. During his historic campaign, he was the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, had 3 multi-sack games on his way to the league, leading the league and setting the new UFL single-season sack record with 10 sacks that equated to minus 71 yards, and also a league-leading 12 tackles for loss, equaling negative 70 yards, consistently creating negative plays for opposing offenses to overcome. Gill also added 39 tackles, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery on the year. So the Panthers do bring someone in to, kind of help alleviate that pressure with the loss of Nick Scourton. So Cam Gill, he has had a few short stints with the Panthers. As we take a look here, he's been on the Panthers a few times here and there, roughly, being on the team for a little bit and then being cut and then making his way to the UFL. 26 years old, entering the prime of his career. Obviously, the UFL is not the same as the NFL, but hey, you got to look for guys that can come in on a cheap contract that really want to prove themselves and can show that they can compete at the next level. And, if there's anyone that you want to bring in from the UFL, this guy's the reigning Defensive Player of the Year. So I think this is a good as a move that you're going to find immediately after Nick Scourton goes down with an injury. Yes, there are other highly touted, well-known names on the free agent market, which could come into play. But I believe the Panthers are going to kind of play it safe at the moment. Bring in a younger guy, someone that has someone to compete on the roster for that for some playing time there. Because a lot of those guys that are on the free agent market, they're veterans. They don't necessarily need to get into camp right away. We know what they can do. We know what they're capable of. I think the Panthers are going to kind of let this play out for the next few weeks, see who kind of rises, who falls on their current roster, and then evaluate from there. If you do end up adding a veteran like a Joey Bosa or some of the other guys I listed last week or yesterday, for example, you do have the opportunity to bring those guys in, but they don't need a full camp to ramp up. They're veterans; they get the drill. They're probably not going to want to be in camp. Let's bring those guys in after a second or third preseason game of the season to evaluate and see where we're at. So really looking forward to what Cam Gill can do. He did wonders in the UFL. We'll see if he can provide any of that play here in the NFL. So really looking forward to that. But another guy that I'm really interested in seeing play and step up this upcoming season is a guy I mentioned yesterday. He's another second-year man that the Panthers drafted. That is Princely Umanmielen. He was kind of a third down pass rushing specialist last season for the Panthers. Made some plays here and there, showed some impact. The stats really didn't pop off, but he is a guy that is versatile and fast off the defensive line. So I really think the front office and Panthers fans in general are looking forward to see what he can do with a bigger role this season. And he's going to have the chance to start. He's going to have the chance to compete opposite of Jalen Phillips. So this is going to be really interesting to see. Princely Umanmielen, he's certainly a funny guy. I mean, if you follow him on Twitter, he's great. He was quite humorous last season for the Panthers during the season on Twitter, if anyone has seen any of his tweets. So really got a personality there, but really a strong physical guy that can get off the line of scrimmage and rush the passer. So if he can develop those skills, if he can really try to take that to the next level and maybe add 4 or 5 sacks this season, I think that would be a huge win for a young pass rusher on the Panthers roster. I think that would be great. So you really have the opportunity to add someone that's already on the roster to the starting lineup, or at least compete for those reps. And I think he can do a lot of things. So really excited to see what Princely Umanmielen can do this upcoming season. So you have him, you sign Cam Gill. What else can the Panthers do? Well, it's all going to come down to this guy right here. That's going to be the GM, Dan Morgan. What is he thinking? Well, as I said earlier, I think he's going to kind of play it safe, evaluate these young guys on the roster, see if they can potentially fill in that role of Nick Scourton. And then I think as the weeks go on and we get 2-3 preseason games in, that's when you look in to bring a veteran guy, someone like a Hassan Reddick or a Jadeveon Clowney or a Joey Bosa, some of those guys that are available on the market potentially, or someone else that you can bring in for cheap that's willing to come in near the end of camp and give it a shot. So I think the Panthers have some potential. It is unfortunate that Nick Scourton is out for the season, but you have the opportunity to have some of these younger guys on your roster and to bring in a veteran to help make up for that loss. So really looking forward to see what Dan Morgan and the team can do as they continue. They have to move forward. They've got to move forward, and I think they will. And I think they're going to find someone that can really alleviate that pressure for the loss of Nick Scourton. So that is the news today, guys. Unfortunately, it is a torn ACL for Nick Scourton, but don't give up hope yet. It's early. There's a lot of football to be played. There's a lot of guys that are going to be willing to make an impact and fill in for Nick Scourton. So continue hoping, continue that Nick, progresses through his recovery. We're going to need him in the long term, but we'll see what some of these younger guys can do, and maybe what a veteran from the free agent roster can do for the Panthers as they continue to try to build this defensive line. So thank you guys so much for tuning in today, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe, and as always, keep pounding. We'll see you on the next one.